Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in the fun. In today's tutorial, we're summer genies making our cutest crochet dreams come true. This time in the form of a cropped bell sleeve halter. Speaking of, maybe you've got a different make on your crochet wish list, fret not, we can help with that too. We have hundreds of the best modern crochet tutorials and patterns with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 475 grams of yarn, that's 850 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5 and 6 millimeter hook, scissors, stitch markers, tape measure, and tapestry needle. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCD DIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you were stuck on an island, would you rather have just a hook or just one skein of yarn with you? I think I would rather have a skein of yarn because I feel like I would be able to whittle a hook myself. So yeah, details for the giveaway down below. We're using 5 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and trinity stitch. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5 millimeter hook, and we're going to start with the inner portion of the cup, so it's going to start the same for every size, no matter what size we're making. So we're all going to start with a chain 1. Once we have that chain 1, we're going to block off that first chain and do a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Now into that chain that we blocked off, or the first chain that we made, we're all going to do an increase of 3 half doubles. So we're all going to start with the yarn over, into that first chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, there's our first half double. We're going to be doing 2 more into that same first chain, so there's our second, into that same first chain with our third. Now, at the end of our row 1, we should all have a total of 3 stitches. Now we're going to get started on our first trinity stitch row, and it is going to be an increase as well. So what we're all going to do is chain 1 and flip, and we're going to start with our first trinity stitch. So for the first trinity stitch, it's always going to start with just a single crochet, unless stated otherwise. Then what we're going to do is pull up 4 loops. So into that same stitch that our single crochet is in, we're going to pull through. Into that second stitch, pull through for 3, last stitch in the row, pull through for 4. When we have these 4 loops on our hook, we're all going to yarn over and pull through all 4. Once we've done that, we are going to need to end it off with an increase as well. So what we're going to do is into that last stitch, so it will be occupied, we're all going to do a single half double double all into that last stitch. So into there, start with 1 single crochet, into that same stitch with 1 half double crochet, then into the same stitch again with a double crochet. So insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that is our row 2. We should all end with a total of 5 stitches. Now we're all going to get started on our row 3. So chain 3 and flip our work. That chain 3 doesn't count as a stitch. That's our turning chain. And now we're going to increase at the beginning of every odd number row. So how we're going to start our trinity stitch increase is going to be 1 double, 1 half double, 1 single, all into that first stitch. So kind of the opposite from what we just did. So into that first stitch with 1 double, same stitch with a half double, same stitch with a single crochet. And now that we have that increase, we're now going to do our first trinity stitch. Now we're going to treat this increase kind of like the first single crochet, as if we're starting our trinity stitch per usual. So just inserting your hook into that same stitch that our increase is in, pull through, because remember we do need to pull up 4 loops again, into that next stitch, yarn over, pull through for 3, Next stitch, yarn over, pull through for 4. From here, yarn over, pull through all 4, and chain 1. And we should all have 2 stitches left, so now we're all going to do our last trinity stitch. Now for our last trinity stitch that isn't going to be an increase, what we're going to do is insert our hook into that last stitch that our previous trinity stitch was worked into, so it is occupied, pull through. Second to last, pull through, last, pull through for a total of 4 loops on our hook. From here, yarn over, pull through all 4. And to do the last one that isn't going to be an increase, simply put 1 single crochet into that last stitch. Now let's get started on our row 4, so chain 1 and flip. So since we all just completed our row 3, we should all have a total of 7 stitches. Now getting started on our row 4 or any even number row, it's going to end with an increase. So to do our first trinity stitch, at the beginning of every even number row, we're going to start with just 1 single crochet. Now we need to pull up 4 loops again, so into that same stitch that the single crochet is in, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1 to complete our first trinity stitch. Now we're going to get started on our normal trinity stitch, so that's just going to be one of our middle trinity stitches with no increases and no decreases. So how we're going to do that is pull up 4 loops again. Starting with the last stitch that our previous trinity stitch is worked into, we're going to insert, pull through, into that next stitch, pull through, stitch right after that, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, and yarn over, pull through all 4 to complete that trinity stitch. We're just going to do a chain 1. Now, since we're all working on a row 4, we should all have 2 stitches left. We are going to end the row off with an increase, so getting that started, insert your hook into the last stitch that our previous trinity stitch is worked into. Next stitch, pull through, next stitch, which should be the last, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4. Then to do our increase, again, 1 single, 1 half double, 1 double, all into that last stitch, so not yarn over, start with a single crochet, then yarn over with a half double, then yarn over again for a double crochet all into that last stitch. Now, since we're all at the end of our row 4, we should all have a total of 9 stitches. So since we're increasing into every row, we should have 2 more stitches than the previous row. So just to get started on our row 5, we're all going to chain 3 and flip our work, because remember, getting started on any odd number row, we're going to start the row off with an increase. So what we're going to do is yarn over. Into that first stitch is going to be 1 double, 1 half double, and also 1 single crochet. Then to finish off this trinity stitch, insert your hook into the same stitch that the increase is into, pull through. Next stitch, pull through. Stitch right after that, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1. Then just do our trinity stitch all the way down. So let's just do those next few together as well. Start by inserting your hook into the last stitch that our previous trinity stitch was worked into, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through for 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 4, chain 1 to complete that trinity stitch. We should all have 4 stitches left since we're all working on row 5. Let's do the next one. Into that last stitch that our previous trinity stitch was worked into, we're going to insert, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 4, chain 1. Then we have 2 stitches left, so we're going to do our last trinity stitch that doesn't have any increases. So into that last stitch that our previous trinity stitch was worked into, pull through, second to last stitch, pull through, last stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 4, and since we're along the blunt end at the end of our row 5 or any odd number row, just complete it with 1 single crochet. So we all should have completed our first 5 rows together. Now from here, it's going to be a repeat of our 2 previous rows, remembering that every even number row ends with an increase, and every odd number row starts with an increase, and we're going to continue to repeat these 2 rows until we have a portion that can reach from mid-chest, making sure that our tail end stays at mid-chest and our blunt end stays at our underbust, or roughly where an underwire would sit, until we have a portion that can reach all the way over to mid-collarbone, because that's going to be where the strap is. Then I will meet you back right after an even number row or along the top so we can do our strap together from there. We are back. I have just completed the increase portion of my cup and now we're ready to get started on our strap. So I have a total of 12 rows right here. This width is roughly 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters, and this height is roughly 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters. Now what we're going to do from here, since we all should have ended along the top, is make an even number chain that reaches all the way up to the middle of the back of your neck, since this is going to be a halter. So I'm going to start by making a chain 32, and that's 7 inches or 18 centimeters for me. Now we're going to get started on the following row, which is just a trinity stitch row with no increases and no decreases. So once we have our chain, we're all going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. Now we're going to do our trinity stitch all the way down. So let's just do the first 2 trinity stitches together. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a single crochet. Now really quickly, just do the first trinity stitch into that same chain, our single crochets in, pull through, into that next stitch, pull through, and next stitch, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 4, chain 1, just to do the next one into that last stitch that our previous trinity stitches worked into, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 4, chain 1, and continue to do this trinity stitch all the way down, making sure that the last trinity stitch closes off with a single crochet. Once we have that, I will meet you back. Alright, so we are back. Our strap is completed. Now what we're going to do from here is actually put this panel aside, and then we're going to start by making our second cup exactly the same way that we made this one. So I'm just going to insert a stitch marker into here, grab the other end of my yarn, and we're going to do the same cup rows that we did for the same amount of rows, plus the chain that led all the way up to our shoulders. Now once we have that chain completed, I will meet you guys back just to show you how we're going to connect it to the other cup panel that we have. So we are back and we have just completed our second front panel increase cup portion plus our chain. Now from here, we're going to connect the chain over to this strap, 1, to have less ends to weave in, and 2, to also be able to adjust the straps if needed at this point instead of needing to redo a bunch of rows. So what we're going to do, we're going to place them down, making sure that the tail ends are facing in. Then what we're going to do from here is grab the second panel that we just made, and we're going to slip stitch it into the chain end of our first panel. So making sure that the points are still touching each other, we're going to grab our second panel, and into the chain end of our first panel, which is the end that's nearest to the point, we're just going to find a stitch and insert with a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through everything to connect. And then we're going to slip stitch into that following stitch as well, so just into that next stitch. We're going to insert, yarn over, pull through everything. None of those slip stitches count as a stitch, and now we're just going to do our following trinity stitch row all the way down. So just to do that first one, we're going to flip our work and working down our chain. Into that first chain, not into those slip stitches, into the other strap, we're going to start with our first trinity stitch, starting with a single crochet, and continue on with our trinity stitches all the way down, just like how we did this other side, making sure that the last one closes off with a single crochet. Alright, so we are back. Our straps are connected and we've made our way all the way down. This is what everyone should have so far. So what we're going to do from here is just try on our piece, making sure that the strap is where we want it to sit once when the piece is completed, making sure that the blunt end of our piece is still staying at our underbust or roughly where an underwire would sit. Now would be the time to adjust the chain if you guys need to make it longer or shorter, and then we can have this portion all completed, then we can just go in with the back panel from there. So once we have the measurement that we need, next thing we're going to do is just tie the 2 tail ends together just to make sure that this is secure. Then what we're going to do is our underarm portion. So what we're going to do is try on our piece, making sure that everything is fitted and settled where it needs to be. And we're all going to start by inserting our stitch marker into any even numbered stitch from the bottom, roughly where our underarm is. Now I've inserted my stitch marker into the 26th stitch from the bottom. That's just about 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters. Now what we're going to do from here is our following trinity stitch row, leaving 4 stitches right before a stitch marker, and we can work into any side that we have. It doesn't matter because it's going to be the same on both. We've made our way up with our first underarm row, leaving 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches right before a stitch marker. Now we're going to do our trinity stitch decrease. So how that's going to work is we're going to start our following trinity stitch the same way per usual. So into that last stitch that our previous trinity stitch was worked into, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through. For 4 loops on our hook, we should have 2 stitches left over. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 4. Then right after we pull through all 4 and have that 1 loop on our hook, we're just going to do a decrease of 2 half doubles. So yarn over, into that second to last stitch, pull through, last stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 4. That is the end of this row. Now, our following row isn't going to have any increases or decreases, so chain 1, flip our work, and do our trinity stitch all the way down. Now, just to do our following decrease together as well, once we reach the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, do our trinity stitch back up, leaving the last 4 stitches. We are back, and we are nearly complete with our first 3 underarm rows. We should have all left our last 4 stitches. Now we're going to do our decrease once more. It is going to be done the same way as our previous decrease row. So get started on the following trinity stitch per usual. So into the last stitch that our previous trinity stitch was worked into, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through. Yarn over, pull through 4, then yarn over into that second to last stitch, pull through, last stitch, pull through for 4 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through 4. Our following row isn't going to have any increases or decreases, so just chain 1, flip our work, and make your way down. We're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we have a total of even number rows, so we should all end along the top, when the top of this portion reaches roughly 1 inch underneath our underarm. Then we can do our back panel together from there. So my underarm portion is complete. Now I have a total of 18 rows. I went ahead and did my other side as well. You guys can do just one side or both at the same time like me. That's completely up to you. But now all we're going to do from here is trinity stitch rows with no increases and no decreases, just making our way all the way around our back over to mid-back. Then once we have one side completed, making sure that we end on an even number of rows, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Once we have the second one completed, do not do a chain up 1 and cut because we can seam and work straight into the bottom band together from there. We are back. We have just completed the entirety of the back portion that didn't have any increases or decreases. Now I have a total of 44 rows. After my first one, I did do a chain up of 1 and cut. Then we're going to repeat everything we did here on the other side if we didn't do that already. But once we do the other side, do not do a chain up 1 and cut because we can go in with a seam together. Now once we have both sides completed, we're going to seam it together. So what we're going to do is just fold our work in half. Then insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. We're going to yarn over and pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and now we're going to do a single crochet seam. So find that first stitch into the front panel, insert, first stitch into the back panel, insert with a single crochet. Again, first stitch into the front, first stitch into the back, and single crochet. And we're just going to continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. We are back. We have just completed our single crochet row. Now we're going to single crochet along the bottom. So since we worked down towards the bottom, we don't have to do a chain up of 1 and cut, and we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So what we're going to do is make sure that our work is flipped right side out, meaning the seam that we just did is now along the inside. We're all going to start with a chain 1. I've already done mine, and finding our first side row, I'm going to find that top loop and insert with 1 single crochet. This is my next side row, so find that top loop, insert with 1 single crochet again. Let's do this once more. This is my next side row, find that top loop and insert with 1, and just continue with 1 single crochet into every side row, making our way all the way around. Now as a really quick tip, this single crochet row is going to be as wide as this portion can stretch, so go ahead and try this piece on once when it's completed. If it's a little bit too tight, reduce some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, reduce some stitches with a tighter grip. We are back and our single crochet row is complete. Everything is fitting nicely. We have slip stitched into that chain space. Now from here we're going to get started on the bottom band. So first things first, we're all going to make sure that our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Then make a chain the length that we'd like for the bottom band to be. I'd like for mine to be roughly 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. Now that we have our chain, start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into the chain that we blocked off for the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. So insert, yarn over, and gently pull through both loops on our hook. And to the next one, insert your hook into that next chain, yarn over, and pull through everything, and continue with this, making our way all the way down. But we do want to make sure that we're not tugging too tightly after every stitch, otherwise the following row will be too tight to work into. Now that we've put one slip stitch into every chain, we're going to connect it into the base. So into that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. Now that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. Now we're going to put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So finding the last stitch from our previous row, not into any of those slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert, yarn over, and pull through everything on our hook. Again, next stitch is back loop, or the loop that's furthest away from us, yarn over, pull through everything. Continue with one slip stitch into every back loop to reach the end of the row. When we do, chain one, flip our work, and put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch again, and I'll meet you back at the end of our row 3. We are back. We are nearly finished with our first 3 rows. Now we're just going to connect it into the base the same way that we just did. So finding that next available stitch, insert into that top loop, insert with a slip stitch, and that's just to connect that row. Now to get started on the following row, slip stitch into that next available stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, flip our work, and repeat. Continue with one back loop slip stitch into every stitch, then just continue to repeat our 2 previous rows, making our way all the way around. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, I'll meet you back so we can seam it together. Alright, so we are back. We made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows. We don't have any more stitches left to work into, so now we're going to seam it together. Now this seam is going to be an outside loop slip stitch seam, so we're all going to start by making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then insert our hook in a corner stitch of both the front and the back panel, yarn over, and pull through everything on our hook. Then do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then all we're going to do is find that first stitch into the front panel and insert only into that front loop. First stitch into the back panel, insert only into that back loop. Then yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. Let's do one more. Into that next stitch into the front panel, insert into that front loop. Next stitch into the back panel, insert into that back loop. Then yarn over, pull through everything, and continue doing this till we don't have any more stitches left. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut. Alright, so we are back. Our bottom band is all seamed up. Now we're all going to get started on our sleeve, and the sleeve is going to be worked off of the panel, then we'll seam it together later. So all I'm going to do is set this off to the side. Then to get started on our sleeve, we're all going to make an odd number chain that can wrap around our bicep. Now we want to make sure that this is nice and snug, but not too tight, so I went ahead and made a chain of 41. So now that we have our chain, we're going to close it off, forming a circle. So we're just going to trace our chain down, making sure that it isn't twisted, and slip stitch into that first chain that we made. So just yarn over, pull through everything, start with a chain 1 and flip, and we're just going to do our trinity stitch all the way around. So starting with a single crochet into that first stitch, so the one that we just slip stitched into, insert with a single crochet and do our first trinity stitch, and do the rest of our trinity stitches all the way around. This isn't going to have any increases or decreases yet. So we're back. We've made our way all the way around with our trinity stitch. Now we're just going to close it off. So what we're going to do is slip stitch it into that chain that we made to close off this row. Now as a really quick tip, that slip stitch that we just did will look like a stitch, but it will not actually count as a stitch. That's just to connect. If you guys need to insert a stitch marker into there just to make sure that you're not accidentally counting that as a stitch, that's completely fine. But all we're going to do from here is repeat this row until we have a portion that reaches our elbow. So all we're going to do is chain 1, flip our work. We want to make sure that we are flipping our work after every row to get the texture that we want, and just do our trinity stitches all the way around, slip stitch it into that chain 1, and repeat. Once we have that, I will meet you guys back right after an odd number row, and then we get started on the bell sleeve. So we are back. I have just completed the first half of our sleeve. I have a total of 25 rows, and this length is roughly 7 inches or 18 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to get started on the bell sleeve detail. So first things first, we are going to switch out to our 6mm hook. Then we're all going to start with a chain 3 because our following rows from here on out are going to start and end with an increase. So once we chain 3, we are going to flip our work and start our first trinity stitch off with an increase, and that's going to be the same increases that we did for the body. So as a refresher, into that first stitch, making sure it's not that slip stitch, with a double, half double, and single. Then do our trinity stitches per usual. So just to do the first one, into that same stitch that the increase is in, pull through, next, pull through, next, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 4, chain 1, then continue to do our regular trinity stitches all the way around till we have 2 stitches left. So we're back. We've made our way all the way around, leaving the last 2 stitches. Now, like I said, we're going to increase into the first and into the last stitches, so let's close this off with an increase as well. Start by inserting your hook into the last stitch that our previous Trinity stitches worked into, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through 4. When we have just 1 loop left on our hook, into that same last stitch, insert with a single, half double, and double. So insert with a single, same stitch with a half double, same stitch with a double crochet. Now we're going to close off this row by slip stitching into that third chain that we made when we started off this row. Now this first increased row for our bell sleeve is complete. It's going to be a repeat of this row until we get the sleeve length that we want. So chain 3, making sure that we're always flipping our work, starting with our increase, then do our Trinity stitch all the way around, close our row off with our increase, and that's it. Continue on with this until we have the total sleeve length that we want. Once we do chain up a 1 and cut. We are back. I've just completed the entirety of my sleeve. I have a total of 55 rows. My length is now roughly 18 inches or 46 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to make a second one that is exactly the same. And once we have our second one, we can seam it to the body portion. Now when it comes to seaming the sleeve to the body, the instructions are going to be the same for every size. And all I'd suggest would be to try on your piece. Place the tail end of the sleeves nearest to the body so that the point of the bell can be seen from the front. Then, with our arms down, insert your stitch markers into the stitches nearest to the corner of our underarms within the body and the sleeve, within the front and the back. Make sure the width is roughly the same, then we're going to seam them together. So just to talk you guys through how to do it, I did insert my stitch markers into my stitches within my sleeve and into the body. And if I sandwich it together, you can see that it is roughly the same width. All I'm going to do is take my tapestry needle and just make sure that I connect the sleeve to the body from stitch marker to stitch marker. Once we have one side completed, we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side, and then I'll meet you back. Alright, so we are back. We have just completed seaming our sleeves to our body. Now from here, we're going to seam up the back, and the back is going to include the back around our sleeves and also up and over the back of our neckline. So this is going to be pretty simple. So I'm just going to talk you guys through it. Inserting our 5mm hook into any one of the stitches that we have along our back. Start with 1 single crochet into every side row. Then once we get into the last stitch into the back panel, we're going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch, making our way around our armhole, then just make our way all the way up and around the back of our neckline and all the way back around. Super duper simple. We're just going to continue doing that, making our way all the way around. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, slip stitch into that chain space, and then I'll meet you back. And we do want to make sure that we're using a medium to loose grip when doing this single crochet row because we don't want our sleeves to end up being too tight. Also, this single crochet row is going to be as tight as this portion can stretch. So once when it's completed, try your piece on. If it's a little bit too tight, redo some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, redo some stitches with a tighter grip. Alright, so we are back. We have just completed single crocheting across the entirety of our back and our arms as well. Now the last thing we're going to do is single crochet along our neckline. So this is going to be fairly simple. Inserting our 5mm hook into any one of our stitches that we have within the neck hole, and also making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. All we're going to do is single crochet, making our way all the way down. So putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. Once we reach our side rows, 2 single crochet into every side row, and make our way all the way back up again. Once we have that completed, do a chain up a 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. And now that our single crochet row along our neckline is complete, we are all done. The last thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye!